Oh, hey. Can you hear me, JJ?
Hear you perfectly fine. It's a bad way to start off the show. You just have to assume that it's starting already and go.
Hold on. Testing. Test. Can you not hear me? What is it?
Maybe it's on my end.
I know what the problem is. Vamp a little bit. Vamp.
Okay, I'm vamping. Can you hear me at least? Can you nod and give me like you can hear me? Or I think you just came through, so you should be fine.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I can you hear me? Because I
Keep vamping. Talk about something.
I am talking. I hear you.
Cool. Oh, wait, I think I can hear something. Is that you, JJ? Did you say something? Hey, there you are. Okay,
yeah,
that worked.
I've been hearing you the whole time. I didn't know if I'm like, my microphone says it's working, so I have no idea what's going on here.
No, the problem was I was trying to get the game that I've been playing on Steam. Here's the ish. It's in a. Now I see the private chat. I could hear you, but it was coming from my secondary little portable screen that I have here. Look at this guy that I bought for like $50. And so all the audio was coming out of there instead of my headset. So I couldn't hear. My microphone was using my HD camera for some reason.
2.5 minutes of wasted life for all of us here.
Can you hear the tapping?
No.
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 But
I hear you.
Is my audio coming in okay?
Yeah, no, you sound fine. I just couldn't hear you tapping the microphone.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
What's up? I hear both of you.
Yeah,
you can hear
I don't
us.
know. Dally's having his own special moment over here. Dally is 100%. It's this is all Dally on this
We're
one.
not. This is all me.
My favorite part of the show, the tech support guy shows up while we're in the midst of tech support and also notices that we're live in the corner.
Yeah, Dally just kind of went rogue on this one completely.
Yeah.
Really just
did this.
Unbelievable.
So
do
Sam,
I
how you
sound
doing?
okay?
Well, Dally does his thing over there.
I'm great. I don't know if Dally can hear me or not.
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
It's been fun. Yes.
Yes.
How do I sound?
We're responding to you.
Okay. You are? No. Do I sound okay? Or
you sound fine.
Yes.
Nothing's wrong.
Damn
Absolutely nothing's
You've
wrong.
Always,
except for maybe your mental
the entire
state.
time
it's
you've
the mental state.
Fine.
It really is. I was trying to play Montezuma's Revenge, which I'll talk about on Steam, and it was not working. And I don't know how to resize windows, and that's the issue that I was having. So, whatever. We'll figure it out. Hey, how you guys doing? Sam, it's been a while.
Hi, yes. Hello, I'm alive. This is the heavy sports season, as you may know.
Yeah.
I'm tangentially involved in sports, so it gets busy during this time.
Yeah, he's actually just been traded to the Dallas Mavericks from
you make a joke. Knicks. I've recently I was joking that I was on the injured reserve list for the last week or two because I don't know if you guys have ever set up a wrestling gym before, a common thing most people do. But there's this tape that you use to tape down the mats because they come in pieces. So you don't have to carry around like 1,000 pounds worth of mat. But this tape is basically like packaging tape if you were trying to like package the side of a building together to keep these mats flush together and then also strapped to the ground. So I, being an adult was like, oh, instead of getting scissors or whatever, I have keys in my hand. I'll just poke a hole through the center of it and then rip. That's great if your thumb is strong enough to poke a hole and doesn't just completely blow out the back to the point where you were pretty sure that you were going to lose the functionality of your thumb for the rest of your life. No, in fact, it was just awfully bruised and it's fine now. I say fine. It's still kind of tender if I twist it the wrong angle or whatever. So let me make a recommendation. When you're young, and I say when you're young, at any point, especially when you hit your 30s, don't be just trying to like poke holes in things with your keys or your teeth or anything like that. Be smart. I felt more useless because it's been my right thumb. I'm right hand dominant in the last like 3 weeks when it comes to just about anything. You don't really understand how much you use the palm of your thumb or your thumb until it hurts a lot when you touch it. Don't do that. I could have avoided injury and just use scissors. Just use scissors, a knife, a flathead screwdriver, something a little bit better than like a dull key with just your thumb trying to force it as hard as possible. Other than that, just great, guys.
Just wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds like we're having a good time. Yeah.
JJ, what have you been up to?
Not much. Same old bullshit. Went to the Titanic exhibit yesterday in Seattle.
Okay.
It was really cool. It was like a guided audio tour. They give you a little like handheld thing with headphones and just type in the number and it starts reading you the stuff, and it has all like this is an actual menu from second class. It actually had the actual necklace like that the Titanic movie necklace is inspired by, which kind of blew my mind because I just thought that was fake. I didn't think there was an actual story behind it. That was fun for me. Yeah, but other than that, I've just been working and playing video games, and that's it.
Okay. That's always good. No existential crises happening right now, which is always a good thing to.
Oh, definitely just not pay attention to the news. That's for sure.
Yep, and I'm talking about the Royal Rumble. So that is.
Oh, is that
the only crisis I'm worrying about?
Did it happen yesterday?
Royal Rumble was yesterday.
Oh, okay. I mean,
my favorite WWF pay-per-view, and I only watched the main event.
I was gonna say that would be.
I got to watch iShow Speed get absolutely obliterated.
Yes, that was great.
I saw that clip. For some reason, I thought it was 2 nights. I don't know how the WWE works anymore.
I don't think WWE knows how it works. Yeah,
that's probably true.
Yeah,
I've always just been like a side.
WrestleMania and SummerSlam are 2 nights.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Right,
maybe that's why I just think everything is like. Like my quote unquote era of wrestling is like the Roland version of Undertaker and Triple H, to spitting the water out and stuff like that. Like that's cool. I watched for exactly like 6 months, and apparently that was a very cool 6 months. I've always just been like a sideline fan and love to see and just understand like the crazy stuff that always goes on with wrestling, like the old school stories, and then even nowadays, like how a lot of that stuff gets like handled backstage and set up.
It's
so I mean, I guess there's a point that all those video games
pay off.
Have like those video games have a background story setup things where it's like you can set up the story line of not only what happens in the ring, but what happens backstage.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to talk about video games. So I'm glad you're kind of leading into that. And I want to start off with talking about our executives and our producers of the SideQuest podcast and SideQuesting in general. Want to thank everybody again for who's a part of the Patreon. Our amazing executives. In fact, maybe one of these days I'm going to give you guys a list and we can rotate who says these names. Executives Tom Johnson and Punctified thank you to the both of you for being the executives. I sent out Christmas cards, but Tom never gave me his address, so I couldn't send him his card. So Tom, when you're watching, probably the next time you're gonna be on the podcast, give me your freaking address so I can send you a Christmas card. It's late, but it's one of a kind. That's why. So, and then obviously thank you to the producers, Stefan Swanland, Zero the Prototype, Exagenous. I like calling him Exagenius because he is a genius. Just kidding. And Jeff Grubb, thank you for being producers on the
Yeah. You know what? You're right. You should send him his card. For Tom being dropping out.
Yes, for sure.
I think that would be fun for if you got it prepared for next Christmas. We just send it to everybody, and then it finally gets to Tom for next Christmas.
Yes. No, that's awesome for sure. Totally, I like this idea. All right. Well, let's see here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the news that has been breaking. Thank you.
In video games.
In video games. Yes, strictly video games.
In video games.
Only video games. There has been some very interesting things. I'm going to start off with, if this thing pops up, here we go. Start off with some of the bad news first. Okay, bad news. And then we'll make our way up. But you talk a little bit about backstory and a little bit about IP. Well, guess what IP and backstory is finishing up, and that will be Multiverses with all the WB characters. The upcoming 5th season of Multiverses will be its last. The developer has confirmed. So it's like, hey, we tried, and then when we didn't try, we pulled it out of free and made people pay for it, and sorry to everybody who got screwed and spent like hundreds of dollars on this thing, and we're
okay. How long did it last? When did 1.0? Early access thing. I'm not counting at this point. When did 1.0 come out? Like middle of summer of last year? Like
not that long ago.
Yeah. Like 5 months has this thing been existed?
Something. Yeah, I don't even know. Because remember it was originally released in like July of like 2 years ago, and then
that was
they pulled it like 5 months later, and
allegedly the game that was canceled twice, right? Like
they unreleased it.
Well, and there's leaks about this game of characters and stuff that aren't in it and will not ever come to it at this point.
This is just Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers. Yeah,
it is, but at the same time, we've been saying it from the beginning. This game was never going to last. Like, there was an idea, but man, people just like I think you were saying it, JJ. Like platform fighters, you have to make this a full-on party game and do something unique with it, because if it's just fighting, doesn't do anything special.
When you try to treat it serious, like a serious competitive fighting game, nobody wants that out of this. Like better games have come out and failed just as hard. Like that, those Nick games are actually good games with good tech and good a good ability to be a competitive fighting game, but nobody gives a rip. Exactly. Smash Brothers only exists because it's just dumb fun. They're trying to it's the fans that forced a sort of competitive scene out of it, like squeezing a competitive scene out of it. And like Nintendo actively against Smash Brothers being a competitive fighting game. So
and remember, like Smash Brothers, their whole purpose behind Smash Brothers was we want you to play with these as toys. Like these are toys that you're playing with, not it's not a fighter. It's just a toy box.
Literally the opening cutscene is like taking characters out of a toy box of the original game.
Well, and it feels like if this is Warner Brothers, like, why didn't they do some sort of other Warner Brothers property in support of it? So you want to say a comic, a movie, a television series, anything that had pick 4 or 5 of these characters and make them a core. But instead, they've just kind of set it off in its own universe with no content to support it other than its own in-universe content. Throwing a bunch of likable characters together and showing priority to certain series or certain styles or movies, DC characters over animation, or animation over insert characters. Like they have that. I'm just looking at that like original character they made for the game, the dog. Like there's absolutely nothing supporting that dog. As much as I hate to bring up like something like Marvel Rivals, I didn't know who Jeff the Shark was when Marvel Rivals came out. Immediately searched it, but there's actual content. I was like, oh, it's not a character made for the game. It's like it's a real like Marvel character, and that's cool.
It's a character made for Marvel Snap, the card game. That's where. No, wait, right? No,
I don't think so. Yeah, Jeff the Shark was an actual.
I'm just messing.
But yeah, it's so I don't know. It's I enjoyed it like originally. I am one of those people's. I guess I committed to the lowest founders pack because it got me like Cake the Cat at the start of it, and I was willing to support it. But then that's the thing. Yeah, it just turned into too serious, bro. Game, and then they never adjusted it to make it any sort of fun party experience or worthwhile. Like there now that it's going offline, you will, if you own it, quote unquote, or if you download it and start it or whatever before like the May 30th, I think they're pulling it offline. You can keep like an offline version of the game, and I guess then you could play 4-player Smash Brothers offline version of that. But what would make you want to do that over playing Smash Brothers or
Smash Brothers?
Any of these other, Brawlhalla or any of these other currently still online Smash like fighters that you can play with your friends, then not locally in the future too, if you want, or have the means to.
And and let's be honest here. Like the roster is not really going to keep anyone around. Like that's sort of the thing about like because there are better. If it's because you like DC Comics, well, guess what? There are better DC fighting games out there.
Well, and I was going to say, other than the DC characters, what characters on the even in this splash screen, what characters currently have ongoing series or an ongoing
Arya Stark
that they're supporting?
Yeah. I get it, like Scooby-Doo will always be around, sure, but like
what's this weird animal in the back with like this green thing with horns?
That's the original character they have for the game.
Original character they made.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They had to kind of create something.
I mean, and like it's weird. It's like the Iron Giant, the notoriously battle-driven character.
Yeah, right. Like legit, like the most pacifist. It's just such a weird. And LeBron James.
LeBron
wasn't
James.
LeBron James. Although I don't see him in this splash screen. Yeah.
It's amazing that like the Looney Tunes could be easily fit into so many different things, but every time they make a Looney Tunes anything, it's like the biggest pile of garbage because wasn't there like a Looney Tunes sports game that came out? And that thing was hot trash, like one of the worst of the year, kind of bad. So it's the Looney Tunes.
Now that you said it, how have they never had a basketball game? That like you've got two movies
actual
now.
Space Jam basketball game. There probably was, right? I'm sure there must have been. Yeah, there has been a Space Jam
Warner Brothers
for PlayStation.
Well, but okay, was it just basketball focused or was it like an adventure game?
Yeah, it was very bad basketball focused game. Yeah. Trust me. Anywho, speaking of nothing related to that, we're going to move on. Sony PlayStation has a new CEO, and that is so Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino kind of shared the roles after Jim Ryan left, and now Herman Hulst is going to be moving to Sony Interactive. Kind of the gaming division, and Hideaki Nishino is going to become the sole CEO. So he's moved on, and Hulst's going to be reporting to him.
Major hardware guy within the Sony the PlayStation ecosystem. So I don't know what that means for Sony, but like he at least respects the brand.
Exactly. He respects it seems like he respects the brand. I mean, Jim Ryan kind of took them into places that were business. Jim Ryan was Mr. Business. Didn't even know how to wear a freaking headset. Looked dorky as hell. Probably didn't even care about PlayStation in the end. But this guy at least has been a part of the process. And
there's so many quotes from Jim Ryan just kind of talking about how where it's just very obvious he doesn't understand what people want out of video games.
I played a PlayStation game. My favorite ones are Mario and Ninja Turtles.
He just sees the lines on the graph of what other people are doing and says, how can we do that? And there you go.
Yep. But this is good news, I think, for Sony, especially with all the stuff that's been happening with the live service aspect completely failing. Because I remember that was Jim Ryan's big push, was the live service stuff.
Yeah.
He really loved it. So I guess putting Herman Hulse back under control of the actual game stuff, and maybe has a little bit more of a vision now. I think that could be
PSVR 2 is finally gonna be
We're finally gonna do something with that. Again, that should have been there. They should just throw a PS4 into a wireless device, man, and make it VR.
Now,
but yeah,
there you go. I was going to say, what if it's a PS Vita, but with a headset?
Ooh, that'd be good. Maybe in that case, maybe it'll play Forza Horizon 5, which is coming to PS5 this spring. Shocking no one.
Can't wait to start beating PlayStation owners.
Yes. We've known, based off of some of the initial things that have been happening at Xbox and the stuff that we've been seeing kind of pop up over the last couple of years with games that are starting to shift over and become multi-platform. I think last year was like 4 or 5 games appeared on PlayStation and Switch, and now this year we've got this. We've got Indiana Jones coming in probably in a couple months. We've got there's supposedly a PlayStation event next week, so a showcase. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Indy there. If we see this there, but
always the looming rumor of that Gears of War collection. That's always
Gears of War collection that's coming to both these. Flight Simulator. So the interesting aspect of this is Microsoft is, I hate to say a third party because they're not necessarily a third party. Microsoft is still a Microsoft service provider, right? Gaming is a part of the service they provide. Obviously, Minecraft has been on every console to date. Microsoft does do a lot of backend and server and that kind of work with Sony already. And, so Sony actually deals a lot with Microsoft. They are, from a business standpoint, technical standpoint, on probably decent terms. Now you're going to see more game stuff. You're going to see Microsoft really it seems like they're really understanding, like, hey, there is no space for 2 giant consoles, and why try? Let's focus on bringing our stuff to both the Switch 2 and the PS5. They said they're still going to have their own console, supposedly, right? There's the next Xbox that they're working on, which I wouldn't be surprised if we see it this year, something about it this year. Xbox is going to be on everything, and you're going to be able to play Xbox games everywhere. And whether you buy a Microsoft device or not. I mean, I use PowerPoint on my Mac, and then I also use it on my iPad, and you can also use it on a Microsoft Surface tablet. And Microsoft is very happy with the direction that goes with that kind of stuff. They're making money off me, so that's what they're leading into.
They're turning the Xbox division into a Microsoft division. Like this is just how the Microsoft has always been. Exactly. So it makes sense that the video game side would sort of become copacetic with the Windows side of things.
Now Horizon 5 that's a 5-year-old game at this point, right? I mean, that's 2020. Did that launch along the Xbox?
It 5 years? It might be.
No.
It was. I feel like I played that heavy during the pandemic.
Horizon 5 came out November 1st, 2021. Okay. So still, I mean, it's 3.5 years, right? So it's been a while. It's been a while. So is
this just to prime them for like whatever Forza Horizon 6 or whatever the next Horizon game ends up being?
It's extremely funny that it is Forza Horizon 5 and not Forza Motorsport. Like,
right. I don't think anybody remembers Forza Motorsport because Horizon is the fun stuff. Although I will say, with the Gran Turismo stuff, I don't know how that plays off on PlayStation.
no, I don't think I because Horizon and Gran Turismo are just two completely
different games.
It's just like Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon are two completely different games. They're not. They're nowhere even like. Yes, they both have cars, but that's
right. But they play differently. Horizon's the open world arcadey influence, but Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo. I think the reason the Horizon is on this and not Motorsport is that Horizon has the opportunity to reach. It's more of a mass appeal game. I mean, if you put Motorsport on there, you're going to go up against the Gran Turismo players who bought a PS5 for Gran Turismo and not.
And Gran Turismo 7, despite everything, is still like one of the only like PlayStation first party titles to do any real numbers.
For sure.
It's the same reason that Sea of Thieves already made the jump, right? It's an easy multiplayer game to get people into. It's an easy sell for cars if you like cars. The last Forzas haven't been great. The Horizon series has been great, but the Motorsport series has been questionable. So love it.
I will love to play Horizon 5 with the weird PlayStation DualSense trigger things.
I was going to say that's probably going to be the better way to play that as a driving game. My bigger question with all of this, like, Microsoft jumping, their games over to these platforms. It was like a big like speculation like 2 or 3 years ago that we would see Game Pass and that streaming like come to these other platforms. Like, do you think you ever see streaming like come to another platform, like come to a PlayStation, come to a Switch 2?
I think
Xbox streaming.
I absolutely see it coming to the Switch. PlayStation, I'm not as confident about just because.
I think if it does, they're going to limit it to just Xbox games, like Microsoft published games. Because Switch already does the streaming stuff for a lot of games. In fact, weirdly, Nintendo handles the streaming for a lot of like stuff. But I could see it coming to both those platforms and just like JJ said, maybe not as much PlayStation, but you'd probably
I see the Switch getting the exact same app that the phones get, like. For
like a web browser like type thing.
Potentially, but then there are games. Nintendo is fickle. Like there are games in the browser thing that you can buy on the Switch already, or you can buy proper. So I don't know.
I could see what you're saying, Dally, becoming like a perk with Ultimate or something. It's like, and play Microsoft games on competitor platforms or whatever.
And you would have to subscribe through. Nintendo, and it's got to be a weird cut.
That would be another weird thing too.
Nintendo's not going to have a free subscription thing out there for games that. Go ahead, do net. You could do Hulu and Crunchyroll and some other stuff because Nintendo doesn't serve in that aspect. But when it comes to games, Nintendo's not going to let you play the games for free that they want you to buy.
But at the same time, there's still like, the Genesis stuff is still available in other Genesis formats and stuff on the Switch, and they have the Genesis out, like,
but you pay for it
on their thing.
You pay for the Ultimate. That's what I'm saying. Xbox would have to be a part of it.
I don't see them limiting it. I just see them. I don't think because you're still Nintendo's gonna get their cut regardless. Like,
I was gonna say, in order to use like online, you would need an online membership to even access that on.
Well, that actually makes an interesting point. Like, I could actively see Nintendo saying, okay, the Xbox Cloud app is a part of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack plus. Maybe they're going to have another tier of expansion pack, but that maybe that's a way for Nintendo to make some money off this,
You know how these deals work too.
Interesting.
It's like, Microsoft being like, all right, like what kind of money transaction do we need to get? Like if people sign up for Game Pass through the Nintendo Switch, and you need to have
Sure.
Switch Online to get it, like we need a percentage cut or what, there'll be. That's the business people to figure it out, and they will figure it out when the time comes. There's
I did want to you mentioned the Switch 2. I did want to ask Sam, what did you think about the Switch 2? Because we haven't had you on the show since the Switch.
We can't do this 3 weeks in a row.
Yes, you can. Go ahead, Sam.
I mean, look, we know absolutely nothing other than screen bigger. You know me, Dally. I love a good press conference. I love a good product reveal.
You love sitting in a theater next to me when we can't get into a press conference.
yeah, at a theater for a product reveal.
Well, poor Tom gets screwed at a crappy press conference.
Yeah, I like getting into another press conference while everybody else is roasting in the sun, even though the press conference started like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, obviously I'm excited to see anything about the Switch too. I would prefer a different color scheme than this, what appears to be like orange and blue, or like a red and blue that they've got going for the pitch.
Salmon and blue.
Salmon
and an ocean blue. Yeah.
Yes. But with that being said, I'm interested in obviously the little snippet of potential Mario Kart that we'll be seeing. Always love a good car. And then also, the heavily rumored mouse optical sensor that seems to be in the side of that, which they did in fact, like, although they didn't highlight in any way, did fly over during the video, and then used the Joy-Cons as, sliding on the thing, like, look, we're mice, wink, wink, or like, look, we slide for things. So, I thought it was a cool reveal. I'm not going to be one of those Game Explain guys or whatever that sits there and is like, 6 months from now being like, oh, isn't it so cool that they hinted at this like during the trailer? But yeah, Mario Kart or whatever that potentially is for the future looks great. Even with, I guess, the internet freaking out about Donkey Kong's weird sunken eyes. Hey, I'll see. It may be coming out like right around when PAX East is. Potentially, towards the end of their like world tour, which I'm kind of disappointed it didn't list PAX East.
Mm-hmm.
But I get that because obviously they can't schedule times for PAX East if you don't have PAX East badges.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's exciting. I'm excited for whatever comes next for Nintendo, as always. And God, let's hope it won't be $1,000 by the time it gets released to the public.
Hey, you mentioned Mario Kart, and I bring that up because Mario Kart is a racing game, and hey, guess what? You've been playing an early access racing game.
Yes. Since we've been talking about semi racing simulators, it's a arcade version of one coming to excuse me, a competing console. Let's talk about a sim that I'm not sure if this is planning to come to consoles at some point, but is in early access on PC. That's Assetto Corsa EVO. It is the follow-up to the studio's Assetto Corsa, which is a pretty well-known PC game that's on Steam, heavily moddable and stuff like that. And they also have Assetto Corsa Competizione, I believe is what it's called. And that's both a console release, and I believe it's also on PC. And I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think it had the GT3 license to support it, an actual like
Something
racing
like that,
series.
yeah.
And this is their follow-up to that. Another sim for PC as of now, and it is, as you've mentioned, released in early access with a pretty built-out roadmap for what is to come. Right now, what's in the game is about 3 or 4 different circuits, a couple of variations of a few of those circuits, and a number of cars. I'm sorry, I didn't bring up the email, so I did not look at how many cars there are. I want to say there's about 30. And of course, some of those cars also feature different variations with some light customization in it as of now. And that's sort of it. It's kind of feature light at the beginning of this early access period. There is sort of practice sessions and what is a race with some AI, but there's no qualifying. There's no full race weekend sort of spec.
Wow.
Oh, excuse me again. Hold on. I have water.
Get some water in there. And we can tell based off your
Yeah. So yes. So it basically is just there to kind of show you the engine right now, give you some time on track to get you a couple laps, and then give you some time with some AI. In the future, they have quite a bit more coming, including an open world, sort of like Forza Horizon setting, where it's going to be the greater area of the Nordschleife. Seems like it's going to be a pretty big and detailed area with different sort of tracks to go to in that space. And then, of course, the sort of well-known international circuits like Suzuka and Brands Hatch, which is in there currently. They just ran at Mount Panorama and Bathurst. So, yeah, so a lot that there's not too much in there right now, but enough to give you a taste. They did recently run an update through. It is sort of struggling at its launch. The game itself plays great. The AI is overly aggressive to the point where they will not do anything in a corner other than just push you over, and they're like a sack of bricks that you cannot move. So they just punch you out of the way. So really racing against AI isn't kind of advised at this point. And there's an online component to it attaches to the server. There are sort of like single player. I don't know if there's a career, but there's special events that are available right now. I have not been able to play any of them, as well as a large portion of the community. Because it seems that there is some disconnect with the servers that doesn't allow you to access that. So I've unfortunately not been able to experience that. I don't know if online racing is available right now, but I've just never been able to connect online, so I can't check that. They do have aggressive plans for updates. You may be able to find a graphic. It launches whenever you start the game, of what their sort of couple months plans are. I think they do plan on coming to a 1.0 release by the end of this year. So they will have that sort of full dedicated career mode. They are going to have that sort of open world space available. And it seems from a sort of mod standpoint that they're going to have both a paid mod sort of platform and also a sort of independent mod platform. If you're used to Assetto Corsa, one of the big successes of that game has been the moddability of it, and people basically being able to insert their own graphics, physics, cars, like basically like paid cars that drive more realistic than anything that's offered in the game now. It seems like they have a sort of plan to go forward. But right now, you're basically investing in that idea. And it's kind of hard to say whether you'd want to do that. I think if you're a big, heavy like sim race player, it's kind of a no-brainer that this game will probably be built into what is like the next sort of platform for the sort of like into modders. I mean, BeamNG.drive is its own thing. But Assetto Corsa, like it's the I mean, like, you know, it's more sim, obviously. So it will probably end up being that sort of platform. But right now, it is just like basically here's a bunch of tracks to experiment with the engine. Have fun with that. But I think once they get that first like content update out, which features that sort of like open world area that they're talking about, I think that will be a good way to introduce players to this and get people in it, because it is the most like controller friendly sim I've ever played. You know, if you pick up, I guess that's wrong because Gran Turismo's been there the whole time. But let's say PC sim, if you know, you can't play something like iRacing or something like even the original Assetto Corsa well with a controller, but I think this one plays pretty well with a controller. You can obviously do way better times on a steering wheel, and if you have that knowledge. But you should be able to progress to something like a steering wheel using this, and it feels way better than Forza Motorsport ever has, like even with their rounds of updates for that, for just the sheer drivability and feel of the cars already in this early access release. So what's there is very strong, but again, I don't think it's like, it's not really for like mainline consumers right now.
Right.
It's for dedicated heavy sim players. And like, you know, hopefully enough of them grab on, and then it progresses into both this very like good for sim players, and then also a fun experience for your more casual, like people looking to dip their toes in from something like a Forza Horizon into a more serious sim. Because for sim players, the ability to have those sort of like, you know, quote unquote real open worlds, to be able to drive around through traffic using a steering wheel and using like cars, like supercars that are then heavy with physics and stuff, that's going to be great. But unfortunately, it's going to be, and it's not a currently. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to obviously be following it throughout this early access period. But right now, only invest if you're interested in sim racing. If you're looking for like a career type racing game, not here quite yet. Early access means early access.
Early access means early access. You've been playing another couple little games here. I want to talk about one that I'm meaning to get into, but I'm waiting for it to get the Switch because it feels like a perfect Switch game, and that would be UFO 50.
What's funny is since I pitched you two of them, both of them would have worked perfectly on Switch. So I was like, oh, which one are you going to? Yeah, UFO 50. A collection of just sort of incredible, what could be lost sort of classic Super Nintendo.
That's the premise of this, right? This fake,
Yeah, it's basically a collection of 50 games that this studio put together into what is one of these like classic collections. And it's honestly a really fun set of different games. It's going through a collection of them on the screen right now. And they're just kind of like all over the place. There's like a golf game, there's a card game, there's like horse racing. There's like one that I've been playing a lot of, which is a sort of like resource management automation game. It's really cool. And when you complete a game, you can like get like a gold version of the tape, and it's, you know, it's basically tracking all of your stats throughout all of these different games, and you can complete some of these games. There's multiplayer games, as the trailer's helping you out here. So yeah, there's a couple of co-op games, a couple of versus games.
Are these like full games? Like they made? Are they full?
So yes, I mean, I full quote unquote, like there's not just like one and done levels, right? It's not like, you know, it's not like, oh, here's a puzzle game and you've completed 5 puzzles and that's the puzzle game. It's like, no, it's like full sort of like, you know, there's different worlds in this puzzle game, and you know, different setups. It's quite a bit in each one of these, and then of course some of them are the sort of classic games, so it's, you know, you're going for high score runs. So think of like your like centipedes and your the Galagas and stuff like that. So it's just sort of single screen, like going through arcade levels. And yeah, there's there's a fictional timeline for how these games like came out and the platforms they were released on, so you can play them in chronological order of release. And then of course there's like a favorite system and everything once you've gone through and played what you like. Yeah, it's great. There's 50 of them.
Cool. No,
and
awesome.
yeah, so yeah, all of them are little tiny experiences. You know, everybody that I've talked to that have played it have found like the sort of like 3 and 4 are their main ones they sort of gravitate to. That sort of like management one that I was talking about has a like time component, so it like, you know, time will elapse as you're playing other things as the day goes on. So you know, it's usually that's the one you hop on, play a little bit of first, and then you go on to everything else, and then maybe play a little bit of that on your way out. So yeah, a great collection. And if you have somebody around locally, or I guess even with Steam sort of couch play or whatever that's called, you can play through that, and it's a good collection of little fun.
This next game actually is on the Switch. That's Stacklands, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's anything with the touchscreen I would think would play it pretty well, and there is a controller set up. But yeah, Stacklands is.
I don't know anything about this game.
Oh really? It's basically like a little town survival game, but it's card based. So yeah, so you basically start with a villager, and you get card packs by putting different getting coins into the slots up there at the top, and you open these packs, and they have different things, and you can place cards on top of other cards to resolve cards. So maybe you get a rock, and you can place your villager on top of that rock, and it breaks apart breaks it apart into stone. And maybe there's a tree, and it breaks it into wood, and then you can put a rock and some wood together, and it builds a house. Or like, you know, a couple sticks together, and it builds a stick and flint, and it builds a fire. So every night there's a day and night cycle, and every night you have to feed your villagers. So you have to either earn or create food throughout the day. And if you don't have enough food to feed your villagers, they will pass away. And then it's just different days of going through that, and there's like different sort of goals. And there is a sort of end goal to get to. There's combat in the game, so you can put different gear onto your little guys, and they can go through portals to fight people or defend their village. And I just recently, you know, there's a sort of fake out ending to the game. And it's kind of obvious that it's going to be the fake out, because you're learning about these recipes for different items that you're like, I've never seen any of these cards that it's asking for these recipes. Like, this is not going to be the end of the game when I beat this boss. So now I've entered like a different, if this is the Stacklands, I've entered the Stack Beaches, let's say, into this game, and it's like a whole different society and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. I know it was one of those that I saw like a few years ago and sort of like kept on my radar, and then I somehow like stumbled upon a code. I don't know if it was in like a Humble Bundle or something, and played it, and yeah, just kind of got hooked on playing it on my Steam Deck and stuff like that.
Excellent. It looks, I love the visual style of this thing. So yeah, definitely.
Yes, it's very cartoony. It's very funny. Like there's like there's different areas that you can traverse in the game. And at some point you learn, like, you can learn how to keep people alive pretty well, but you'll have mess ups that you like, or things that you just didn't see coming will happen, and you start to build up bodies, but you can't dispose of them in any way. But if you put a bunch of corpses together, it opens a graveyard, and then you can explore that graveyard. So just some crazy stuff in that game.
That's awesome. Hey, JJ. How are you, bud?
Oh, I'm just listening to Sam, enjoying my time here with y'all.
Listening to Sam, enjoying your time, reminiscing, perhaps. Reminiscing about the good old days
let's like listening UFO 50 and all these kind of like good old days of console platforming and action games. Yeah.
Did you say console action games, because you've been playing a console action game from there's a couple, but I want to get to the one that's a little bit more recent-ish, I guess, and that would be Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battle.
Yeah, baby.
I love this trailer, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Jedi Power Battles, was that there was a Phantom Menace video game already, and Power Battles decided it was going to be sort of the goofier version of it. Like, we're going to retell the story of Phantom Menace. And, the Phantom Menace does it's a hard to buy story about government trade routes,
don't bring it up.
taxation,
Never believable. Never happened.
Being conceived by one of the most corrupt and evil human beings in the galaxy. So if you can get past that sort of concept, there's a lot of fun to be had with Phantom Menace in general. Listen, I'm a Phantom Menace apologist. I fucking love the movie Star Wars, the Phantom Menace. I don't know. I'll always defend it, but it's a kid's movie. I mean, let's be honest here. I played this originally when it was on the Dreamcast. Came out originally on the PlayStation 1. I played the Dreamcast version. It was a really fun game, and I have lots of good memories about. And it was also a really good co-op game, because it was a co-op game where you really actually had to cooperate. It wasn't so much like a lot of couch co-op where it's just like you're both doing your own thing towards the same goal. It's like, actually kind of, I need your help to take down this droideka, kind of. But yeah, it understands that
giant head.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. It does these weird things where it's like you could get a power up, and it makes your lightsaber longer. Or it's a big head. Yeah,
my only weakness.
Yeah, it just does these things that like are kind of reminiscent of like the Super Star Wars games in a sense, where it's vaguely retelling the story. But having some fun with it and adding video gaming it up quite a bit. It's a janky mess. It doesn't even like, this is the remaster. This is brand new. This is a remastered version of it. And they didn't fix anything janky about the game, which I appreciate. It just made it look a little better. The camera's bad pretty much all the time. The platforming's like extremely difficult to do sometimes. But that doesn't stop me from loving it nonetheless. It's just a fun little action game where you get to choose. You can play through the entirety of the Phantom Menace as Mace Windu if you wanted to. Like he plays almost no role in that movie, but here he is. You could play as Darth Maul through the story. They added all the unlockables are unlocked from the beginning in this version. They even added characters that you can play as, like that weren't in the original game. Like you can play through the game as Jar Jar Binks now, which is silly, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Nice. There's like 13. Yeah. Are there 13 new characters?
13 newly unlocked playable characters. Yeah, they did quite a bit. They're all kind of characters that sort of appeared in one way or another in the game. So it's it's just repurposing existing assets, for these purposes. But like, it's fun, man. It's not. It's my original 7 out of 10 kind of thing. Like it plays goofy, janky, but like there's a fun game to be had there. So especially since they just don't make games like this anymore at all. Like if you're getting sort of like, you get two choices when it comes to like your licensed IP games. You're going to get those. They spent way too much on a Star Wars game that was never gonna, you're gonna spend way too much on Star Wars Squadrons, or they spent very little and let some studio make a little janky game mills game that sort of doesn't barely works, and they put no effort into. Like you don't get these sort of double A IP based action games anymore. It's kind of one of the last of its kind for a bit. Like, Marvel was doing that stuff on the 360 a little bit when the MCU first kicked off, because there was like there's a Captain America and a Thor games that were actually like, they're not bad, but they're not good either. And it's just like, that's kind of, we need more of that, especially if you're just going to be pumping out IP stuff. Like Warner Brothers just needed to be pumping out weird, like have Way Forward make you a fucking Tom and Jerry side-scrolling platformer or some nonsense, instead of spending millions and millions of dollars on a platform fighting game that was never going to go anywhere. or Suicide Squad. Like, we need to make a live service, multiplayer exclusive online nonsense. But yeah, big fan of this game. Big fan. Star Wars games. Star Wars games have always been sort of important to video gaming for a while, and then they just kind of made them too big. like even you go to Nintendo 64, you had Shadows of the Empire and Star Wars Rogue Squadron and stuff, and now you have Battlefront 2, which is like, why is that game as big as it is when it's just like a team deathmatch game?
Sure.
So yeah,
it's awesome.
Fun. Like, I like that game a lot.
Hey, real quick breaking news, because the Grammys are happening. Winifred Phillips just won the Grammy for the Wizardry remake, so that's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Rock and roll.
It's a video game category, right? They've added to it,
I think so. Yeah. I'm not watching it. I just heard yelling. Hey, you've been playing another classic game. We're gonna go even further back than what we just talked about.
Well, I mean, technically further back, but this one isn't. It is a sequel to a very, very old game. It's a new sequel.
It's a brand new sequel. Okay.
Yes.
Gimmick 2.
This is brand new. Gimmick 2. This is not a remake of a game.
So this is a brand new game then.
This is a brand new Gimmick.
Oh, interesting.
Because they put out that Gimmick one that I reviewed a while ago. That was just a re-release of the original Gimmick game. And this one's a brand new, like from scratch Gimmick. There is no Gimmick 2 other than this. And it's a way better game than the original Gimmick.
Yeah, you did not really like that original one.
I respect the original Gimmick. It's just, it came from a time where this sort of Twitch platforming wasn't really feasible. So it felt really awkward, especially playing it on modern consoles with modern controllers and stuff. Like this was clearly, I mean, this is a British as hell game. So this is a computer game kind of thing, more than it is a console game. But like, they fine-tuned what the physics are for Gimmick, and Gimmick's a very interesting game because it really wants you to speed run. Like, that's the whole goal of this, is like it's got that Meat Boy kind of thing going on, where it's like, you are going to fail, that's part of the deal, but instead of it being like a single screen, it's like a Mario style, like this is a long level. It's a Kirby style game where it's like, it's a long level, it's multiple screens and stuff. You got checkpoints, so you're going to go back to your last checkpoint, and hopefully you've learned what you did wrong, and then you just master it. And you have to, the game is all about momentum. It's do not stop moving. Once you're in action, you have to sort of keep moving. You have to understand the momentum of Gimmick, of what the star does, of what the things are doing around you, how the enemies appear in the screen, how all this stuff plays out. You kind of have to just roll with the punches. If you've never seen it before, you're going to have to just sort of cross your fingers and pray for the most part. And certain things, like you'll see in a couple of things where he's going downhill, he picks up momentum going down a hill. So you're going to need to master, like, at what point do you use that momentum to jump off the hill? But you also don't want to overshoot, because the platform's going to be a little tiny little square that you need to land on and stuff. And enemies are going to be in the way. So you have to have like a star loaded up that you can either use as a weapon or use it as a, as you can see here, like a little platform that you can kind of ride and stuff. It's hard. It's a very hard game. I said it last week. It has one of the coolest difficulty select screens I've ever seen, because it's like, okay, do you want assist mode, which will help you with the platforming and stuff, or do you want to play just standard Gimmick? And in order to select the standard Gimmick mode, you have to do Gimmick platforming. You have to, like, if you can't do this small little snippet of what it is to play Gimmick to get to the Gimmick mode, you have to go with the assist mode until, like, I mean, once you're in there, you can change the difficulty, but the game is telling you, like, you're not ready for this yet. You don't know how this game plays. Play on assist mode for a little bit. But if you played Gimmick before, you kind of know what to expect. The physics are different, but you at least know what the game is going to be asking out of you, and you understand how the platforming is going to work, so you can figure it out pretty quick. So yeah,
I'm loving these visuals.
It's a beautiful looking game.
The Kirby looking feel to it.
Yeah, no, it's the soundtrack's great. The aesthetics are all beautiful. It controls really well. I like this exponentially more than OG Gimmick. This is great. I love this. It's hard though, man. It is a hard game, but well worth your time. I've been playing it on PlayStation. I don't know why the words escaped me, but yeah, PlayStation, and it's great. I don't know if I think it's on Switch. I didn't look at what platforms
I'm sure it is.
on.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it is, but like I kind of want this on a mobile device kind of thing. Like, and it not the
portable,
like the Portal doesn't count. Yeah. Like the PlayStation Portal doesn't count because like you can't have input delay. So.
Yep.
I've been holding it in the whole time.
Okay.
You would say you enjoyed the Gimmick?
Oh man.
Yes, Sam.
Okay. So glad he's not staying in either of our rooms at PAX.
I mean, come on, it like rates itself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. It's you know, you were right to do it. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it.
Yeah.
Sam, I talked about it last week, but you got to play Tokyo Extreme Racer, man.
Yeah, listen, it's on the list. It was you don't understand that it was honestly on the list of like games to check out, and then I saw the Discord message that was, "Hey, do you want to check out Assetto Corsa EVO?" And I was like, "Yeah." So
it's either you or me for like pure racing. I know JJ has like a lot of I don't want to call it arcadey, but he has some of the more innovative racing games because the history there. I guess I don't know.
But meanwhile, Gran Turismo is my Gran Turismo is still one of my favorite franchises of all time.
I don't think I was going to say I don't think you understand. Like I have a PlayStation 2 set up currently, and the game that is in there is Tokyo Extreme Racer 3.
Yeah, I should take it all back. I take back everything. We are the three of us like all these kinds of games, and I didn't know who to give what code to. So, hey, I've been playing some games too, and I want to talk about those games. So, I'm going to talk about the first one because it's not very good. So
is it the one that we've been talking about?
Yeah, well, you'll see. I'm in my 40s, right? And wow, holy crap, I'm in my 40s. Shit. I'm late 40s now. Don't look at though, right? I'm the youngest man you ever met. No, one of the first.
You're like the Outrunners in AEW. You're the youngest man alive.
Yeah, the youngest person in gaming possible. No, so I'm in my 40s. One of the first games that I never really wanted to play, and when I say never really wanted to play, it's because it was I think it was Commodore 64 or some Atari platform, and it just seemed like a weird game at the time. I was really into sort of multiplayer type stuff, but there was this game called Montezuma's Revenge that had released for, I don't know if it was arcade, but definitely was on a bunch of other stuff. And it seemed like this was like pre-Nintendo being a thing, like platformers being a thing. Montezuma's Revenge was this, there's more exploration and kind of puzzly stuff. So I wasn't a big fan of it at that time. I think because we were playing it on Commodore 64 in like elementary school. I'm like, yeah, I don't like this. Give me Centipede, give me Galaga, give me whatever. Well, years later, I picked it up again. For some reason, I'm like, let me check this game out. And it has this really, I don't want to say it has its hooks in me, but because it doesn't. But Montezuma's Revenge is an interesting game because of what it tries to do. It's sort of for those that don't know, it's sort of this reverse tower. You're trying to head down and get out of this like, I don't want to call it pyramid, but you're trying to get out of this temple, basically, right? So it's not about diarrhea, traveler's diarrhea, but you're trying to get out of this temple, so you have to not directly. So there is sort of this pre-Metroidvania aspect, because you have to go to a bunch of different locations and kind of go back and forth and collect keys and open stuff. So that is interesting from that standpoint. The classic game actually has some interesting decent controls to it, even by modern standards. And you can actually go out and buy like the classic game right now on a bunch of different platforms. I think Switch has it and PC. But for some reason, somebody out there thought, let's make a 40th anniversary edition of Montezuma's Revenge. Friends, this sucks. This game is not good. This version, the visual style is bad. Look at it. The visual style is bad. It's like this really bizarre 3D. The controls are bad. Everything is not only is stuff like, I don't want to say it's floaty, because it's not floaty, but putting it in this style, this aesthetic, makes the previous pixel perfect jumping, which was actually kind of important, like the pixel perfect motion and movement and all that kind of stuff, makes it impossible. There is a point in this game, and I mentioned to JJ last week, where you have to jump up on these platforms that sort of appear in order, and then you kind of go to, it's right there, that last, so you kind of got to go left, right? So you're jumping up on these platforms, these wooden platforms, and then you can escape. Well, guess what? It is impossible to do it because it's so poorly designed. I'm jumping, and he will not. You can select one of two characters, whatever, dude and a girl. I chose both, and neither of them.
Panama Joe.
Yeah, and just would not jump correctly. Like, I'm hitting the button. This character is jumping above the platform, so they should land on it. No, it will not land on it. And I kept dying, because if you jump too high, or if you fall off of a short platform, you die. Like, you die in every turn in this game. Thankfully, this version at least allows us to kind of keep replaying it as often as we want, and not really worry about anything except for losing our score, but who cares? But it's just bad visual design. Like, it really looks bad. I mean, I hate to say it. Like, this is a poorly designed game. It's visually that part kills it. The audio design is not good. There's nothing there's no charm from that original game. The original game actually feels like it has some eeriness to it. Like, you're actually sort of exploring, because they did a lot with 8-bits back then. This does not do it. This is just bad controls kill this for me. Thankfully, weirdly enough, I spent more time playing there is the original version built into this. I spent way more time playing that because I thought it felt a lot better, like just playing that original version.
Yeah, the OG is an Atari 800 game.
Yeah,
ported to everything.
So it's good. I mean, the original version is fine. This is horrible. It's not a void. It's impossible for me to say anything good about it. I know they wanted to try to bring back this game so that they could, relive history, but just should have left it and not tried to go this route, because there are so many issues with this. It just does not function.
Needed to make just a hand-drawn 2D thing, man.
Yeah, man. There's no need for 3D. It looks like a lot of assets. Like, they're just pulling assets from places. And there's the skulls look bad. The diamonds look bad. The fire looks bad. Like, you could at least tried. You could at least try to do something original. But it's like let me get it looks like it was made in a weekend. Like, somebody grabbed the assets from like a humble bundle and said, replace 8-bit fire with 3D rendered fire, and that was it. Like, it just doesn't. It's just I cannot. Just stay away from it. Not even if you're a fan of collecting classic games.
Well, here's the thing,
don't
too.
like to review. I don't like to say bad things about games because there's always designers and people that are putting it together. But I can't say anything good about this.
And here's the thing, too. A few years ago, the original developers of the game put out like a really good modern day port of this game on Steam that you can get for like $9, and it's actually like
it's on Switch as well. I ended up buying it. Montezuma's Revenge, the 8-bit edition, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's like coming soon on Steam still is Montezuma's Revenge Director's Cut, which is like an expanded version of the original game that's still like it's coming. It's like this is
I think they're different developers. I think
they are. They are.
Yeah.
The ones that like the one on Steam that came out like in like 2020, like during the pandemic or something, is like the original developers re-releasing their own game. It's like it's like we're gonna get it to modern audiences, and now there's like now you have this thing.
Sure.
It's abomination.
This is just bad. Like, just don't.
Yeah, it doesn't pay respect to the original. I'm not a fan of Montezuma's Revenge at all.
I wasn't back then, but I after replay.
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna be doing these types of, especially in the climate that we're in now, where there's a lot of this kind of thing existing, like Atari has been reintroducing old, like with the Recharged series or whatever, Neo Sprint and stuff like that, where it's like
unique.
Like it's like we took the game and we made like a cool like Geometry Wars style version of Black Widow or something. Like that's cool. Like you just made what would have been an Xbox arcade indie game for like it wouldn't even made it a storefront kind of thing. It's like it's disrespectful to the original
Monster. It really it's a great way to put it. It is disrespectful. So I'm playing another game. The game that I didn't realize how many hours I poured into, and let me get through my piece because JJ, you played a version of this game, and still are. The game that I've been pouring my hours into is surprised me, mostly because I did not see myself being interested in this at all.
Oh, now I know.
So I first had the chance to see this at Summer Game Fest last year, and it kind of took me by surprise, but it had been out on Apple Arcade, and this was the console version they were showing me. Well, now it's out, and there are some things, but for the most part, I am very pleasantly surprised with Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which I'm playing on the Switch. So brace yourself, right? I have to start this off first by saying the game starts with it's like there's actually a narrative behind this, just like there sort of is with the Animal Crossing, which this is definitely trying to ape a little bit from. But the game starts with the plane crash, which I got the code this week. Wrong week to have that as a part of the story because it doesn't. Woo! Look out. That was rough.
Not only does it start with a plane crash, first of all, it immediately takes that and makes a snakes on a plane joke.
Yeah, it does. It does. Cakes on a plane. So, anyway, so this is a. It's not necessarily a town builder, but it's a sort of hybrid between Animal Crossing and it really 3DS overworld style action games. And what I mean by that is you're doing more than just building a house like you would in building and decorating a house like you would in Animal Crossing and games like this. You're actually doing puzzles. You're actually going around and you're hopping. You're doing some action stuff. You can capture bugs. You can go swimming and fishing, but you're actually doing a lot more action-oriented things, jumping around, you're traversing, you're going on zip lines, you're going in caves, you're going in puzzle areas. So there's a lot more built into this than there is in Animal Crossing. There is so much, in fact, that you can kind of get a little overwhelmed. And I know the Switch actually did, because there are parts of the Switch kind of chugs along. Surprisingly, it's not the smoothest game on that platform. It definitely functions better on mobile. But this is a perfect Switch game while we're waiting for, and I think it's on a PC as well. So it just came out, and I think it's coming to PlayStation soon too. It's a perfect game while we're waiting for proper Animal Crossing to come out. Okay, let me go through some of my notes on this. So there's some, obviously I mentioned the action stuff. There's some light personalization. There's not a ton. There's some character customization that lets you choose which animal you want and kind of play with some of the stuff. Of course, I was a bird because birds rock. I freaking love birds. So I was this little like Robin looking thing that I created. But I don't feel as, because that you don't feel as connected to the character as if you made one that was a human in this animal world. So like Hello Kitty is a human in Animal World. But so you make an animal and they give you a few things that you can use to edit, to customize your character initially when you're creating them. But then you start to actually open stuff up later on. You open up more hats and more clothing and more, physical features and that kind of stuff. So, but because I'm not as connected as this character as I am in other games, like I feel a lot of it's more about doing stuff and being in the moment, being sort of action oriented, and not really focusing on the personal space that we create, like our personal connections. Like the connections you make in this game so you've played, for a lot of us that have played the Animal Crossing game on mobile, Pocket Camp, you're building up hearts, and if you get one layer of hearts or one level of hearts, you get prizes, you get some reward. Then another level of hearts, you get another level of rewards. And that's basically how you build up relationships. They're sort of superficial, right? You're kind of building up that the hearts, the connection with those characters, or that level with characters. And it's more about gaining stuff rather than having one character be more friendly to you than other characters, right? Like you would in Animal Crossing. But I think because that still feels like a mobile game a little bit, because there's nothing that actually has these Hello Kitty, Sanrio characters connect to you, right? They don't like come and go. They don't disappear. You're not trying to keep them there because they're all there with very specific jobs. So it's not like I can't become best friends with Kuromi because Kuromi is just a character that's there, right? I can give some of the nulls to these little weird little monsters. There's these little green things that you can give hats and stuff to, but you don't really form that bond like you would in other games. That's okay. Again, that's not what this is about. This is very open worldish in the aspect of what you could do on this island. So there's so much that you could do so much exploring, right? You can go vertical, you can do, like I said, the zip lines, you can go across bridges, because you're constantly looking for things. You're like finding items, you're exploring, and I really appreciate that in this game. I think one aspect of that is because there's no real world money. There's no there's no currency at all in this game. You're collecting stuff, and you're getting hats, you're getting things for doing quests, and you can actually trade that stuff for bigger things. So instead of like trying to collect money, or turnips, you're just collecting items and using those and trading them up. And I actually like that aspect because it pulls away from having to grind monetarily. But it is held back a little bit because this is the mobile aspect really kind of kicks in. There are very hard, like, daily things to do in this. So when you get through your day, you're kind of stuck waiting to do stuff, right? So whereas in Animal Crossing, you get through your day, you can still kind of have fun. You can go fishing. It's really about sort of the relaxing thing, because this is so action oriented. You're not necessarily relaxing. You're doing, right. So the daily grind, the daily tasks you have to do. You're supposed to wait a day to do a character quest. Like you have to get a certain amount of character levels before some things start to open up. But what that means is if you're not time shifting, which they really try to make a point, we don't want you time shifting, it'll break the game. It won't. You can be waiting like a week plus before things really start to open up. Now in Animal Crossing, that stuff is accelerated. You can actually really get into the game within like day 4. In this, if I didn't do a little bit of time shifting, I'd probably still be so early that it felt like it was grinding. However, there is, like I said, there's still so much to do while you're waiting for these other tasks to happen that you're never really feeling. You're not, at least in this initial part of the game, you're never really feeling like there's not something that you can do, because you can just keep exploring. You can go up, like the designs are great. There's a whole spooky Halloween town. There's minecart rides and a volcano. There's picnics. There's beaches. There's lakes. There's ponds. There's a lot of little biomes in here, which I think is awesome. There's no, I mean, obviously I've only been playing it for like a few days. There's no real like winter. There's no events like there are in Animal Crossing that I've noticed yet. I don't know if they're bringing some of that mobile stuff to this version, but check it out. You can climb. That's awesome. It's like
it has
Link
the
climbing up the side.
Wild spirit,
yeah,
like
it
stamina
does.
meter.
It does. But and the nice thing about it is that you don't get injured or whatever. Like the stamina meter goes up, and then if you just find a ledge, it refills real quickly. I do like it. It's actually a huge island. Like it's a
big map.
It's a big map. It's based on like this amusement park theme park. It's so charming as heck. The design, I mean, it's very Animal Crossing. Even the animations, like you see in some of these in this video, like the characters will spin and they'll hold something up, and it's like, oh, that's ripped straight out of. It's very similar games. But it's been a lot of fun to play. And again, I couldn't believe it. I sunk 20 hours in this thing in like 3 days. I started Thursday, and here it is Sunday, and I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh crap, I've spent a ton of time on this. It's beyond some of the grindy stuff, it can become a little bit of like a collectathon. That's what the mobile side is. So it doesn't quite leave its mobile trapping, because that's where it started. And the sort of the leveling up you have to do certain things. But this is an easy recommendation for anybody this is a tail end of the Switch. And I think it's coming to PS4/PS5. It's on PC. It just came out PC as well. Very easy recommendation. There's plenty of stuff to do in this, and it's such a nice, just chill back, cozy, do weird things. You find I think they're Gudetama, which are the little egg characters. Yeah, you find there's like, they show in this video, they show one like sunbathing, so its butt cheeks are out. I mean, it's really
that's his entire gimmick.
Yeah, it's entire gimmick, exactly. It's funny, it's cute. There are things layer a lot. Like, you start off by just in this little central square, and you can start going exploring wherever you want. Like, the game is trying to keep you behind gates, but because you can climb everywhere, it's just how novel can you be to break it and get around stuff. I will say though, if you're not careful, you will, which would happen to me. Like the cameras and the controls aren't perfect. Like, I know this was meant to be a touchscreen game initially, and they switched it over to controls. The camera can kind of get locked in certain. It's a sort of a stationary camera, but it can get locked, especially if you get behind something and start to slip down like off a cliffside, or stuck between some trees or something. Then the whole camera will everything will go black, and the camera will reset, and it'll push you back out to a spot before you get stuck there. So it's interesting. It's from that standpoint, but it's real pretty. It's great. It looks totally fine. You only have one level in your house, and I'm really curious to see how far this goes on the Switch. Like, I really want them to support it with events and with things to do, because I feel like this game could very well end up being something that people come back to for a while. You know, this could be like one of those year-long event games where you just keep coming back to it, just like the games that inspired it. But it's good. It's so fun. It's great. I know, like, JJ, you've been playing it on mobile, right? On Apple Arcade.
Yeah, I played it on Apple Arcade when it first came out. So it's funny to play it, because like the whole Apple Arcade conceit is to like,
Yeah.
you can't buy anything. Like you have,
Yeah.
the game needs to be feature complete. Like in there, you can't.
Yeah.
There's no microtransaction. So you can see the game trying to self-correct itself to what it probably originally was.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the thing. But yeah, no, I did buy it for Steam in the end here.
Okay.
Just because
have you
liked it.
cracked it open
I
yet,
really
or
liked
no?
It's been I've cracked it open. I started going through some of the stuff. I've gotten the flippers. That's as far as I've
the
gotten
flippers.
so far.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's very easy to start.
Yeah.
Like once you get going, it's very easy to get lost. And like we had the TV on in the background watching regular TV. The next thing you know, you're climbing stuff like just like a regular like Breath of the Wild. I spent the first part of the game opening up the entire map if I could. It was great.
I love that it has little like Breath of the Wild style temple puzzles that you can solve.
This very easy little temples.
There's low impact, but they're like there's a couple of them where you're sitting there and you're like, wait, what are you trying to tell? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta use this. I gotta step on this block. It's gotta shoot me up and grab this thing and go to the other side. Yeah.
It's cute. I've always liked Sanrio characters.
It's great.
They're adorable.
They did a great job. It's funny because you can get Sanrio gear in Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing proper, and then they like both the mobile version and the New Leaf, and now they got or whatever. Now they got
the amiibo cards.
Me too. I got like 50 of them because I thought they'd be worth something, but they're not.
Dumbass.
Just great, just real cool.
It's cool because it's
very
definitely
easy recommendation.
Yeah, it's when you're in terms of when you're talking about like the less connection to the characters like in Animal Crossing. I think at the end it feels more Sims like that it does Animal Crossing in that sense where it really is right. It feels way more, even though you're controlling a specific character, it definitely feels more god gamey than Animal Crossing does.
Sure.
It feels like you're guiding your OC in this town as opposed to being your OC. So I mean, you're not friends with Cinema Roll. Your character, that your unnamed character, is friends with Cinema.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's where the standpoint comes. That's the one little aspect that it sets yourself apart from other games in the genre is that it does play more like that. You mentioned God mode, but it does play more like you're here for a reason and there are things to do here rather than just sit and relax by the beach. Like in Animal Crossing, people found all kinds of crazy stuff to do. Like you could build, we built mazes in that game. You can't really do that here. This definitely is more of this is your job. This is what you have to do. And you're not, characters will not react to you differently because if you're not like me, where you're not particularly good at the creative side of things, where you're like building like your town. I recreated an amphitheater over here on my Animal Crossing island or whatever. It's like that's not me. I can't I can't do that. Sure. Like so for me, like Animal Crossing, as much as I love it, after you get like a certain point, it's like, well, I shook all the trees, I got all the fossils, I don't know. What do I do now? This one's a game. This is a game at the end of the day. This one's just an actual game. And it's great. It's charming. Like I suggested this to you, Sam, as a review. I'm like, does Sam want to review this or should I? And I know JJ, you said you had played it on the Apple Arcade. And I'm like, you know what? I deserve a cozy-ish game. So I took this definitely a game, and I really enjoy it. And again, it's 20 plus hours. I'm kind of itching to go back and do some more. I don't know what the end game is to this. I don't know if there is an end game. I know that if this is anything like other games in the genre, it's really just kind of a daily spin. But 2 days, the days in. The deluxe
I saw that there was co-op in there.
Yeah, there's multiplayer co-op.
So is that local or is it online?
I haven't done any. I haven't played with the local. I haven't put the co-op yet. No, I haven't.
I don't think anyone particularly cares about the co-op part of it because I think it's one of those things where it's like think it's like one at a time kind of thing. So I don't know how it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
like you can. I think it's in person. I want to say so. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I'll have to dig into that. I mean, it's not a big selling feature for this game. I don't even.
Yeah,
really
I don't know.
if-
I don't know how it wouldn't change the experience at all, because the game is really just sort of focused on very specific hunting and gathering to make delicious cakes for your friends, and then give them some blue lotus flowers so their heart goes up, and then yeah.
I mean it's I think it's definitely online. Like you can definitely connect online. You have this little phone, just like you had in Animal Crossing. So you have this little phone.
Yeah, no,
and you use that phone.
It just outright stole a lot of stuff from Animal Crossing.
I think but yeah, just like that, you get like a little character code and go on there. But again, I didn't have anybody to go online with, so I didn't. Yeah. But there's it's only two player from what I know. But I don't know if you could do it on this. I don't think you could do it on, like, I haven't been able to do it on the same Switch. I think it is just online. Either way, it's you're just kind of hosting somebody to come to your island and do some of the island stuff together.
Yeah. You were saying like you hope they bring some of the like event stuff, because like that's the deluxe edition. The deluxe edition pretty much exists to unlock stuff from like previous holidays that have come and gone that you won't be able to re-experience in the game, because Halloween 2023 has come and gone, so you can't get the Halloween 2023 shirt unless you get the deluxe edition kind of thing. So I'm hoping that the game's not dead. I hope this kind of gives it a shot in the arm, and this isn't just them like making like Pocket Camp give us kind of thing. Like, it's done now. Here's the complete version. So,
there is one cool aspect, and I think this is maybe I will. JJ, maybe you and I will have to try this. I don't know if it'll if I'll be able to do it or not between crossplay between Switch and PC. But one kind of cool thing is that I know the multiplayer, again, I don't think you can do it on the same. I think it's just online. Is that you and I can grow our friendship level within the game, and so we start to open up some little quests and stuff there. So like if I give you a gift or you hop into my island and we hunt stuff around or whatever, then you can, our bond will grow. We can unlock like new emotes and items and things like that. So I know that, but again, I haven't tried it. So Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I'm gonna sink more hours in it. This may be one of those games that I think you got to get this digitally. So that you have it on your Switch all the time, or on your device all the time, because it is kind of an interesting game to kind of it's a fun game to just go back to and putz around in and see what my Sanrio characters are up to. So yeah, Hello Kitty. I think that's it. We did a good look at it, an hour and a half, good chunky thing there.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, there's a lot of stuff gaming wise potentially happening here real soon. I know there's a rumored. Within the next week or so, we're supposed to have a PlayStation showcase and a Nintendo Direct. The Nintendo Direct focused on the Switch One stuff. PlayStation showcase focused on PS5 stuff, because Sony is finally ditching
PSVR
the PS4 and PSVR 2. They'll probably show. We got a whole section for the 3 people that have the PSVR 2. So that's rumored. PAX East stuff. We're waiting to hear back. We got our panel that we're putting the finishing planning touches on, and we still got to come up with a cool name for that, or funny name. So we'll have that figured out here in the next week or so, and then we might do a couple streams that are just strictly for the Patreon. We had some fun ideas. JJ, you and I were talking about some stuff, and I think we could do a fun stream with like Jackbox or whatever with the Patreon. So join the Patreon. That'd be a lot of fun. We've always had a good time with that. So,
I bought the one game for us to play, and then Zach grew up, and then we had to stop playing.
That was great. That was great. Good times. Good times. You can find us sidequesting.com, sidequesting TV on YouTube and Twitch, sidequesting.com at Blue Sky. You can find us Go to the Discord, by the way, because the Discord at our website, SideQuest.com, is where everybody hangs out. We always have a good time. And then, yeah, happy 2025, Lisa. Nice to hear from you. We have good conversations in there, and we always giggle, and we're trying to keep ourselves smiling. And it seems to be somewhat working. You can find us individually. I'm on Blue Sky at DollyDemofsky.com. Hey, see, I actually was able, because you can link your website for verification. You can find JJ at _j.bsky. Just do the search, right? _j. Sam, are you on Blue Sky yet or not?
Nope.
All right.
The Discord. I'm only on the Discord.
You're only on the Discord. There you go. Find him there. You can find all of us there.
Catch him on the track and on Discord.
Catch him on the track. And thank you to Johnny and Taylor for joining us tonight. Always great that you guys said you were going to be here and you ended up not being here. Always fun. No, just kidding. With that said, we'll see you all on the next episode of the SideQuest. Thank you and bye-bye. See you next time. Toodles.